Hi, I'm Joy. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I typically share my Tesla Model 3 owner experience to help new and future owners learn more about this car. But as you can see from the video title, this video is not going to be about Tesla, but rather about my recent visit to Nikola Corporation. If you missed the background information, please watch this video first and then come to this video. For this video, I'm taking on a little bit of different format. I'm going to do it more like a podcast type of feel to it because there's a lot to cover. And also, you may have noticed that I have disabled the commenting feature for this video. The reason being, I have been getting a lot of attacks from people on Twitter following my visit, calling me a liar or putting words in my mouth, or basically saying that I don't know anything simply because I went on this visit and I share some of my initial thoughts. So this trip was really about facts finding, and based on my own research, the conclusion and observation that I am drawing for myself. I am presenting you with video clips and my observations. You can draw conclusions on your own and keep your opinions to yourself because this topic has been quite controversial and I am seeing a lot of unnecessary debates and attacks on my previous YouTube video comment section. So for this video, I'm disabling that. Before I jump in, I do have to apologize for any ambient noise that you may be hearing. We're having a heat wave. My AC is running really loudly. My upstairs neighbor is home, so I apologize for any background noise that may be distracting. What I'm going to do is actually walk you through my day that I spent with Trevor Milton, the founder and CEO, and his team, and share with you clips and highlights and questions that popped up during the day. For your information, Nikola did have a camera crew following us around, producing their own video of our visit. However, I have requested that they do not use my portion for any promotional purposes, and they were very kind and very nice about it and told me that before they release any of their videos of our visit that I would get to review it, and if there's anything that I don't feel comfortable for them to publish, they're going to edit out or blur me out. So Trevor, initially when he invited us, he mentioned on Twitter on July 5th that he will treat us all with respect, and he kept his word. We were treated with nothing but kindness and hospitality by the entire team. So I want to make this disclaimer. And also, to my surprise, I was able to video and record most of my time at Nikola, even though we signed an NDA. There are a small portion where it is their top secret project that they're working on, or it's company confidential trade secret that they just absolutely cannot share. But I would say they showed us about 95% of Nikola, and with the 5% being something that we just can't have access to, which is completely normal, completely standard corporate practice. So I want to lay this foundation and let you know that this is how we were treated throughout the day. Our visit started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I actually left at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I left early because my flight was at 4:20. So I actually missed out a bit of a Q&A toward the end, and when Trevor asked for our feedback on how he and Nikola can improve. So that portion maybe will be covered by Sean Mitchell's video, so make sure you keep a watch of his channel. And also Nikola's official YouTube channel will publish a couple of these videos as well with our permission. So if you want to get the whole picture from different perspectives, go ahead and check out those channels as well. I was there for 6 hours. So there's a lot to cover, and I am not going to be able to show you everything in this video. So what I've decided to do is to go through actually the chronological order of our entire day, so you would feel like you were there with us. And just so that you know, prior to my arrival, I did my homework. I printed out their latest 10Q, and as you can see, I highlighted stuff and I wrote down questions and whatnot that I had issues on, or uncertainty or doubts on, and I prepared my questions. Now, because there are 4 other people there, a lot of questions didn't get to be asked just because of the time. But I would say that after I came back and sat down and looked at the list of the questions that I had, the majority of them were actually answered either directly or indirectly. Now, one of the questions that I did not get to ask directly, but it was answered indirectly throughout the day, was, what are you learning from Tesla? So I will show you video clips where Trevor and his team talked about how they learn from Tesla, or how they're sort of retrofitting the Tesla approach to their products and suit their customers. After we checked in, Trevor did an introduction with us, and this is a part where he explained about their business model, and it answered my question about what they mean by being a vertically integrated company, but they're also seeking partners.
I've made multiple comments in the past about how Nikola does things, and I want to try to help you guys understand that right up front. Nikola is, we try to do everything that's really important to our vital, what we call the vital parts of our body, when we call like the arteries and the heart. That's like what we care about the most. The rest of the stuff is when it comes to things that don't matter so much, we outsource it. So the things that we do in-source is all of our controls, all of our inverters, all of our e-axle development engineering, all of our HMI, over-the-air updating. All that is actually done in-house in Nikola. In power electronics, everything is done in-house in Nikola. But what we do not do is manufacture those in mass production. So we design and engineer them. We'll take, for instance, a great example is the e-axle. We took the e-axle to about 90% of where it could be in production. And we said, okay, we got this awesome e-axle, and I'm going to show you a picture of that today. Actually, of the e-axle for our Nikola tray. No one's ever seen that e-axle, so I'm going to show you guys that today as well. But on the what we did is we take that and then we say, look, we're not experts at manufacturing something in mass volume when it comes to component level. So we took that one to FPT, which is the Fiat powertrain, and we had FPT actually take our e-axle and take it the rest of the 10% of the way. So they've helped us validate and test and mass produce that e-axle coming in on our Nikola tray and our Nikola 2.
Did they have experience in that before you brought that to them?
Not in e-axles themselves, but they had massive experience in axles and differentials and trucks. So we worked with them from our point of view, how to integrate inverters, how to integrate the electric motor. So Kevin's not in here right now, but Kevin actually designed the e-axle. He's got 6-7 years of history on e-axle development. He was our first engineer at Nikola and our chief engineer. So all the e-axles we developed at Nikola were developed by Kevin.
So e-axle, define that. What does that include?
Rotor, stator, cooling, thermal, gears, and sometimes inverter, depends on the application. For trucking, we actually take the inverter out because of the massive impact loading on the axle itself. So on the light duty vehicles, you integrate the inverter in because it reduces the amount of connections and thermal and other things like that. But when it comes to the truck, we've actually found out that the inverter integrated in is actually a detriment to the vehicle because of the massive impacts from the fifth wheels being jolted into the vehicle. We isolate the inverters with essentially triple isolation. You got suspension, you got isolators, and then you got additional isolators around the inverter. Because those impacts, when they back up, a lot of those drivers, when they back up into the fifth wheels, they'll back up at 10 miles an hour, and it's like hitting a brick wall. And we've actually found that shock and vibe goes straight into the differential, and it's not healthy for the inverter long term. So we pulled the inverter out of the truck e-axle, but our UTV and everything else like watercraft, it's all built into the inverter's built into the axle itself. So what we do is we take it about 90%, 95%, and then we have someone else do it. Same thing with our inverter. We designed our own inverter. We actually have full prototypes here. Verijan will be able to show you, like a sample, like how we actually go through the development process. We actually machine out the housings. We do all the board design. We do have people print the boards, but we assemble them, we build them, we software, we control everything in-house, but then we'll send it out to someone like Bosch or Continental to actually build 1 million inverters for us. We're not a production house inverter company.
So basically Nikola is like a design house. Is that what it is?
Similar, yeah, design house and manufacturing for the truck side of things, but not component level. This is where we differ from Tesla. Tesla does almost everything in-house. And to be honest with you, if I had the capital funds that Tesla's had in their life, I may change some of my tune about where I would go. But we don't have that, and first to market always wins when it comes to capital, and Tesla's just absolutely clobbered everyone. They've done a damn good job at doing that. The guy's a marketing genius, and I love that about Tesla. When it came to Nikola, we had to take a different strategy because while we were first in the heavy duty space, we were not first in the EV space. That's a problem. If you're not first mover to the EV space, you're not going to get the benefit of what they got. So because we are first to the heavy duty space, you'll actually notice that a lot of the patents around the heavy duty trucking world, of some of which we're very criticized for protecting, are because we were first, and that's our only upper hand against hundreds of billions of dollars against us. And so we're going to get into that conversation later. I know that one's coming, and and that's okay. We partnered with Iveco and we said, look, we have all the technology, they had none. They have all the manufacturing experience, we had none. This is like a perfect marriage where we brought Iveco in, and Iveco's actually helping us design our own factory in Germany. Will be done by the end of this year, so we're 4 months out from having that factory done. It'll start, when I say done, that means a majority of it. You're making improvements to it for years to come. But you could, trucks will be, the assembly lines will be there, you'll have the facilities done, is permitted. You're able to start building prototype vehicles on those assembly lines. So Iveco's coming to help us. They're also helping us design our factory here in Coolidge, and they'll help us get that up to speed. So that's one area where we differ a little bit from Tesla's. They have that manufacturing experience. We didn't. We wanted to bring it in, so we partnered with Iveco on that. That's a little bit of an overview of just of Nikola. I wanted a couple of those guys to give you. I'll probably have Isaac go first. Give you an update of infotainment, because Tesla, there's no one out there that understands infotainment better than the Tesla culture. They're hardcore infotainment followers. So I use Tesla. I know I get criticized for this a lot. I use Tesla as a reference because it helps people understand it helps me explain the differences of the company, where we are good and where we're bad. So I've taken some of that criticism in the past about trying not to reference Tesla as much. I get that. I actually have listened. I have to explain it sometimes because Tesla's created an EV world, right? It's impossible to talk about EVs without talking about Tesla. So I will mention Tesla when I need to, and outside in this room I'll do it more, but publicly I've limited that as much as I can, except for the times when it's really important.
What Nikola is trying to do is each of their clients has a different specifications particular to their needs. So Nikola's coming in, providing them with this EV platform, and then based on what the customer needs are and requirements, Nikola will integrate those onto these trucks. So that's what they meant by a vertically integrated company that will work with partners. Next, to our surprise, we actually saw 2 presentations from Nikola's senior technical team. The first was their CIO and Chief Software Architect, Isaac Sloan. To our surprise, Isaac is actually a longtime Tesla owner, and he owns multiple Teslas. He started with an OG Model S. Currently, he has 2 Model 3s, and his wife drives a Model Y. So I was personally really pleased to hear this because it tells me that they understand why Tesla is so popular and why Tesla has such a loyal following. Isaac was very open and gave us a whole presentation on the infotainment system and talked about security. And Isaac has graciously shared his slide deck with me, so I am able to use them in this video. There are two key points that really jumped out at me, and I thought those are actually really brilliant. The first one is key management. Now, with Tesla owners, we all know that our cell phone is acting as our key because Tesla uses the proximity sensor built inside our phone, so when we approach our vehicle, the car knows that we're coming and we're the driver, and the driver profile, everything is set for us as soon as we step into the car. Now, Nikola really understands the logistics vertical because they are coming up with this keyless management that is taking it a step beyond just having a cell phone and unlocking the car and driving the car away. In the logistic world, the trucking world, if you didn't know about this, is the drivers don't always drive the same truck. So they could be assigned to a different truck for every route. And what they're doing is they're developing the Nikola App, which we also saw, to actually have the driver profile carried with the driver themselves. So regardless of which truck they are going to be driving, when they approach the truck and they sit inside it, everything is going to be set to their preference. So they don't have to fumble around the seat height or the AC temperature. Everything follows the driver. This also solves another key dilemma in the trucking world, is that right now, all the trucks, they have the same key, which is a huge security issue in the trucking world. And with this keyless management feature that Nikola is implementing, it's going to fully secure their fleet of trucks to prevent anyone from accidentally stealing it, and actually not accidentally stealing it, intentionally stealing it and driving it away and not knowing where their truck is. So that is one really cool and brilliant feature that Nikola is working on for their fleet customers. And this is actually a huge key selling point, and how they're able to win big contracts with Anheuser-Busch and Republic, the two that we know of so far. And then another thing that I thought was really interesting is that they're developing their own telematics. And what they're doing is, I asked questions about this. So basically, they're going to be able to aggregate or push data from the new EV trucks, the different parameters. For example, VIN numbers, speed, payload, battery percentage left, range, temperature, altitude, torque, and all bunch of different parameters, and push them to the existing FMS or fleet management software that these clients have. So if you didn't know about this, the entire logistic and trucking world, the technology is lagging behind many years. And the FMS, fleet management software systems, there are bunch of different ones out there, and they're legacy systems. So I asked them if they are actually building out new fleet management software to go with the Nikola OS and all these new technology features. They told me that no, their goal is not to create yet another FMS to confuse their clients and that they have to do an enterprise-wide install, which is just not smart, but rather they are hooking into the APIs provided by those FMS and then aggregate all these previously non-existent data about the EV trucks to the FMS so that the operators at these fleet companies, they're able to get more insights into their trucks and even the driver behavior. And yes, there will be updates being pushed out over the air, which is something that they've learned from Tesla. A couple of other notes I want to share is that they plan on using open source, and the system is based on Linux, which is the same as Tesla for security reason. And later on, I had a chance to chat with Isaac a little bit more, and I asked if they would be open to putting a truck out there on Hackers Day and let people try to hack into it. And he said, of course, because they do want to find the vulnerabilities that other people may see, but they may not be aware of. So just like Tesla, they are improving their security. They are concerned with security. I shouldn't say just like Tesla, just like everybody else. So Isaac is a really soft-spoken, gentle, humble, but really smart person. So he earned my respect. I also want to add that when I stepped into Nikola, I was chatting with different employees off and on. That's one thing that I do when I go visit all the different companies. I ask them, hey, how long have you been working here? And to my surprise, I found out that the turnaround is very low over at Nikola. Right now, they have over 300 employees at this headquarters, and they're still hiring. There are people that have been there since 2017, 2016. I think Isaac might have been there since 2016. I have to go back and look. And we actually met employee number 36 as well. So to me, so far, this company is checking out as not a fraud company, in my opinion. And again, this is my observation. If you disagree with this, so be it. But I visit a lot of companies during my life so far for my job, and I've gone on a lot of field trips visiting research labs and corporations like this, going behind the scenes. And so far, from my experience, I can tell you that everything is checking out. Next, we saw a presentation from Varujan Sarkisian, who is their head of electrical and control systems. Now, this presentation went really technical because he was showing us how they designed the e-axle, which is actually company confidential information. So I did not film his presentation, even though there were portions of his presentation that we were allowed to film, but I just did not film it. And I am really glad that actually Omar was with us in this group because he has the software engineering background, and he was able to ask some of the deeper software engineering questions. But basically, Varujan, he worked at JPL and DoD, and he also worked at Faraday Future prior to this. So he's been involved in the EV world for a little bit. He joined Nikola in 2018 to build in-house control inverter. And what they're doing is they are developing their VCU in-house. And during his presentation, when he was talking about installing the ADAS, or the autonomous driver assist hardware components, I had a question on here from their 10Q that if the autonomous hardware suite will be installed pre-production or post-production. And so basically what I found out is that, like I said early on, is they are providing this platform, and then if their client is saying, hey, we want you to implement this ADAS from this particular vendor because we like them better, then they are going to integrate that for their client. And they're not actually developing their own autonomous driving capabilities because they know they can't compete with Tesla at this point. Nobody can. But also because there are a ton of ADAS solutions readily available on their marketplace. They are actually pretty good. So that's the route that they're taking. And I asked during Varujan's presentation about sensors. So I wanted to find out, hey, if you guys are gonna install ADAS and install the autonomous hardware suite, what about the sensors? So they said that the sensors will also be based on customer preference. So Nikola provides skeleton platform and basic ADAS for customer to upgrade to their preference. So if the customer says, I want cameras, they're gonna put cameras. If the customer says they want LiDAR, they put LiDAR. If the customer says they want ultrasonic sensors, then that's what they'll do. So that's what I got the most out of Varujan's presentation. Again, I was really surprised that they showed us their e-axle design. So like I said, they're really open and they're willing to show us everything to prove that this is a real company and they're not just a bunch of knuckleheads running around just talks. After these two presentations, we were taken to go see the actual Nikola 2 truck and get on a test ride. But something came up during the walk around of the truck where the lawsuit with Tesla came up.
And I'll get into this a little bit later after we touch about that. So that minute to work behind the driver. It's a really, really important patent for a company because it allows the aerodynamics of the truck, allows the driver to get out drivers in the market is getting in and out of the cab. So we solved that by this mid-entry door and the ability for the driver to come in and enter in from behind like a cockpit of an airplane and moves the driver up for better visibility and better aerodynamics. And there's one on each side, so they can exit either side, and also the windows can push out if there was ever a rollover, you can pop out.
And that is the lawsuit you have with Tesla, right?
And I'll go over all that with you guys today up in the room. I'll let you ask me any question you want. There's a lot of history to that most people don't know, and I'll tell you guys about it. As a matter of fact, you'll actually see I continually try even till today to try to help them, and I want them to be able to succeed. And I'll tell you guys about that later on today.
Those of us in the Tesla and Nikola communities know that this lawsuit is generating a lot of unnecessary debate and tension and even hatred toward one another. Here's my stance on patent lawsuits. Personally, I have no emotions about it. I don't care that they're suing Tesla as a Tesla owner and someone who's running a Tesla YouTube channel. I personally do not care because patent lawsuits happen all the time in the business world. During the walkthrough and also later on during lunch when I probe a little bit more about the lawsuit and Trevor elaborated on this a little bit more and had given us the history, Nikola went ahead and filed this patent of the design of the door of the truck because that is the best drag coefficient that they could come up with to make their trucks efficient. And efficiency is the biggest selling point for Nikola to go into the trucking world and get rid of all the diesel trucks. So if Tesla or anyone else, not just Tesla, out there who also figured this out and they want to use the same design, well, guess what? Somebody's already filed a patent on it and it was granted. So Trevor told us that initially when they saw the Tesla design and they realized that Tesla, I don't think Tesla copied it, but I think that Tesla also figured out that is the best way to design the front doors to achieve the best efficiency. Nikola approached them and say, hey guys, that's actually our design. We actually have already filed a patent on it. If you want to use it, we can work out a royalty, or we can help you to come up with another design that's modified. But according to Trevor, I don't know about Tesla because I don't have any contacts at Tesla, but according to Nikola, Tesla's legal team basically just ignored them. And so then Nikola has no option other than take it up to the court. So that's Nikola's story. I don't know about Tesla's story, but to me, if Tesla doesn't want to change the design, then Tesla, in my opinion, should pay Nikola royalty fee or licensing fee on licensing that design. That's why people file these patents. Tesla files patents all the time. Everybody files patents, and people sue one another all the time over this. So if you're mad about this, that's on you. But for me, I don't see anything wrong with it. And that's my opinion. Then we all took turns to go on a test ride in the semi-truck. Now, this was actually the fuel cell with battery version of the truck. And Trevor has been attacked on Twitter when he tweeted this out because he mentioned that for safety reasons, the truck was not filled all the way with hydrogen. I want to clarify this point in this video because people are just attacking him for no good reason without understanding the whole story. The truck that we're riding around with is an alpha truck, meaning it has not gone through safety testings, official safety testings to become a production truck. And even though we're only driving around the parking lot, for safety precautions, they decided not to fill the hydrogen up all the way, just in case, for whatever reason, we get into a wreck, and they want to make sure that we're all safe. So it is none other than because this truck hasn't gone through official safety tests that they're not filling this up. It's not because, oh, this truck is a fake, it doesn't work, and this is a sucky product. No, it's an alpha truck and not a final production truck.
I'll hold that one for you. Let me hold that for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody want to ride again?
Great, it's nice and cool in here. Good
All right.
afternoon.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Should I put my seatbelt on?
Hey, I'll have you sit over here. Yep. See.
Great.
So very special here because there's only been probably 30 or 40 people that have ever driven in this truck besides the Nikola team. So it's a big deal for me to open that up to new people. And I wanted everyone that came today to know how real and legitimate this truck was. To be able to see it drive, to know it's real, to feel it, touch it, to hear it. You get, all the motors, the fuel cell, and the air conditioning. I mean, the whole thing is a real truck. And that was what I wanted everyone to experience today, was just to be able to ride in and see what it's like to actually drive in it.
Thank you so much. This is a great opportunity, and thank you. I was telling your team, thank you for being so open to us.
You're welcome.
Sharing, because there are a lot of confusions out there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that you cannot share with the public.
It's hard, because you can't give away your IP. Yet
Right.
people demand it to know you're real.
Right.
And it's a really tough balance to how much you give out compared to what's good to give out and what's not good to give out.
Right. And I was, I put a note down there earlier that this really is the race between Nikola and Tesla. Who gets to the market first?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you said, I'm all for competition, because the more competition, the better the market wins. So,
I've told a lot of people that the EV world is we're all attacked for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And so we're very protective of each other, very protective of the market, because you don't want anyone to fail because it hurts the market more. And so I get why a lot of people ask questions or are kind of critical, because they don't want another failure.
Right.
And as long as they know you're going to succeed, they're going to root behind you. And so I totally get it. And that was kind of the idea here today, is long as people know that we have a good chance of succeeding, I think that the community is going to be excited about the prospects. We can stop on this one because, yeah, this is good right here.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
After the test rides, we had lunch, and then Trevor took us out on a tour of their headquarters.
But this is what you would consider a prototype. The one you drove today was like an alpha. That's a newer version of this one, and it's designed to be lighter, more powerful, more representative of production. After your alpha, you go into your beta, and then your beta to your gamma, and your gamma to production. So right now in Europe, right now we're in our betas, and our gammas will come out middle of next year, and the production begins the end of next year in Europe. So for the Nikola Tre, which is that truck right over there. This truck will be out next year as well, driving fuel cell with Anheuser-Busch, the Nikola 2, the one you drove today. So that'll be in the hands of Anheuser-Busch next year. Pretty cool. A lot of fun. So both of our vehicles will be on the road with customers at the end of next year, which is nice.
The ones that you're delivering to Anheuser-Busch, is that going to be the battery variation, or is that
fuel cell?
That will be the
That'll be the fuel cell.
Okay.
We have other customers that'll be taking delivery of the battery. So
You're delivering fuel cell trucks to customers at the end of next year?
we are.
I thought you guys had been saying 2023. Or?
Yeah.
That's full production.
Okay.
So they'll be on the road testing, on these routes all over the country, and that's how you get all the weird bugs out of them. There's gonna be a lot of breakdowns. I mean, you'll have a lot of issues with
So
them.
you're gonna let your customer do the bug testing?
No, it's an advanced. You've already gone through a lot of testing with it, but until you get it in the real world and you let drivers mess it up, you don't know what issues are there. Very simple. Like you guys have seen this even with the cars you have. There's been hundreds of software updates for issues that, even though customers are finding them out, that's how you find them out. There's nothing dangerous level. It's just annoyances. Like, hey, this thing's kicking on too soon.
It's refinements.
Refinements, yeah. It's not a safety thing. They've already gone through crash testing, rollovers, FBSM, all the different, the regulations of DOT and there's NFPA. I can't even recall all the ones out of Europe. So, all those will be done before we hand it to the customer, and then from there they'll just tell us everything they hate about it.
So you guys are doing a couple hydrogen stations for those test trucks?
Yep. So we already were $30 million worth of electrolyzers about 3 months or 4 months ago, and those electrolyzers are going in at those locations. And that's actually the call I was supposed to be on right now is with Anheuser-Busch. And I had my CEO handle that one, but we're actually talking about the delivery dates on the trucks, what routes they're going to be, where the stations are going to go. And I'm hoping at Nikola World we'll actually announce where the exact locations of those stations are, how many trucks are going to be in their hands, when they're going to be in their hands. But it will be end of next year, they'll be driving them on routes.
The spots that I want to highlight on this tour was they took us inside their design studio, where very few people get to visit. Even when you go visit Tesla, the majority of the people, they will not let you inside the design studio, but they let us in. That is an area where we are not able to film out of the entire tour. So we saw the design studio with the clay models, and we saw the NZT, the sports vehicle that they're actually going to unveil at Nikola World. So we got a preview of that. While inside the design studio, we asked about the Badger, because as consumers, we are interested in the Badger because Badger came out as an aftermath or response to the Tesla Cybertruck. We pressed him on Badger because people have been saying that this product doesn't exist, and I have had my doubts in my previous video that they have been taking reservations on this product, and they haven't even unveiled it yet. Badger, unfortunately, was the product that they could not show us or didn't want to show us. They said that Badger was at another location and they are gearing everything up for Nikola World for the big unveil, because they have famous people involved in it. And we also asked them about the potential OEM that will be producing the Badger for them. They said that there are 5 top OEMs in the world is going to be one of them. So it sounds like they are very close to inking a contract with this, but they could not tell us the numbers or anything relating to the Badger, because that OEM wants everything to be withheld until the unveiling. I was disappointed, of course, because I couldn't find information or get information out of them about the Badger. But on the other hand, I understand. So this was their top secret project that they have been working on. And Trevor mentioned about, over lunch, about installing a drinking fountain or a water fountain in the Badger, and he got a lot of attacks again on it. People are like, why are you installing a water fountain in it? And personally, I don't understand why people would attack him for adding this seemingly useless feature. If you think about it, it's actually not so useless. So the Badger is designed for people that like to do outdoors activities. So Trevor is a very outdoorsy guy. During the course of our lunch and our chat with him, that's what I found out. And so he told the team, he said, it would actually be great if there's a water fountain in the Badger. We put like 10 gallons of water in there in the reservoir and just have it filtered and go through filtration with like minerals, so that you don't have to bring like bottles of water when you go out doing activities. You can come back to your truck and you have nice, cool, mineral fresh water without having to throw away bottles and polluting the environment. That's the perspective that he is coming from for installing this water fountain. Personally, I think that is a very cool idea and super useful. And this is coming from a Tesla owner talking to non-Tesla owners when they were attacking Tesla for including Netflix in our Tesla cars, or the ability to play games or sing karaoke in our car. Well, that's pretty useless, but not to us. These are great. We use them. So that's the same thing with the Badger water fountain feature. I think it's a brilliant idea. And if you don't agree with it, then, please exit this video right now. But I think that is a great idea, and they're going to have a lot of support from people who enjoy doing outdoors activities. Also, after I left the meeting, I believe that Sean Mitchell was able to press him on the Badger a little bit more. And according to Sean's tweet on Twitter, Trevor did mention that there are actually 2 Badger prototypes doing road tests right now. So we'll all just have to wait and see until December, when Nikola World is going on, to see how realistic this thing is. On the tour, we also saw a demo by Isaac on the Nikola app and how it integrates with the fleet management system. So take a look.
This is the one that Isaac was in.
Latest version they flashed for yesterday. I wasn't here, so I think it's a good one. One thing that's really cool is this button right here turns on Recirculate without having to go into a menu first.
Cool.
So if somebody tries overlaying you or something, you can just go straight to Recirculate. Here's our HVAC controls right here. You have this kind of cool solar eclipse theme right here. Kind of gets a little bit more intense as you increase those. You can also change the fans where it's blowing to for all of them. Close that. Go into here. As you see, it's reasonably responsive. And under the phone, you can see all your contacts, and pretty much what you would expect from a phone.
Reminds me of Tesla.
A bit.
We took a lot of ideas off of what, how they design stuff, and we just made it the way that we felt like we'd want to design. So it's I believe one thing I'm not me personally, I don't like everything to be touch. I still like a couple buttons. I'm actually vying for like our
If you
truck
wanna
to.
touch this,
Yeah. Well, no one's ever done this in a truck before.
yeah, that's my phone.
Okay.
You can also.
It reminds me of Boeing Starliner to like SpaceX.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
We did have 3D buildings, but it was taking a little
So-
bit too much to render it, so we're working on.
So this is OpenStreetMap, or?
It is, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty cool though, because you can. I mean, you can really.
Yeah.
You can zoom it and tilt it and everything else. Look at that. Like
Is there commercial value in that? Like, is that something that truckers need and want?
they love it. They can see where they're going. They can see if they're going into like city areas, if they're like on their routes, and it'll show their routes. They'll show them the highest. Like here's the highest bridge. Here's the lowest bridge. Here's what you have to worry about. Oh, by the way, it's too low for you. Do not go on this route. Like.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of value for the drivers there.
Has this software improved since last Nikola World? It looks
Yeah.
a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
a
like
little bit more
pretty
refined.
much our alpha release at the point.
Yeah.
1 hour until you take your break. That's cool. And you got the driver rating. If they got one little hexagon, are you going to hide that?
Well, we're kind of working more on like the score will be online, and then we'll show it like basically here, and then we'll also show them like almost like old vehicles when they used to tell you when you needed the shift, like up or down. We'll kind of tell them like, oh, the thing you just did basically resulted in a slightly lower or higher score.
Oh, okay. So that's what that is. Okay.
To, like, help
So it's
kind of
like you're
gamify
driving grading.
Yeah,
driving rating.
Oh, it was like rating the guy personally.
So yeah,
Like
it's
the
like-
Uber rides, yeah.
it's like hard stops and hard acceleration, hard cornering. That
Well, that's
sort of
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
It helps you weed out the bad drivers, and for fleets, it's a big deal with insurances. So if they run a yellow light, they'll get docked. If they run a red light, it'll send out full video back to their logistic team to let them know they just ran a red light. Because when someone runs a red light with a truck, it'll kill people. So
absolutely.
you want to get rid of these bad drivers.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of that because they can't. Some of them take their loads so fast they can't slow
They
down,
can't
so they
stop.
just cruise through those red lights.
They're just
Yeah.
like, you know what? They'll move.
So we have like all of our settings that
Yeah.
we talked about before, and those all sync
Looks
up to the
great.
cloud. And
Just like a native UI.
So there it is. I hope you guys. This is pretty fun because it gives you a pretty good idea on how when you hear about Nikola online, you don't think that they have these capabilities, and when you get inside, you get to see kind of the details. A lot more fun to see. Like, holy crap! There's very few people. Like I played around with like Geely's. If you look at theirs with the Android Automotive, I prefer this way more than theirs because I think people want it more like a smartphone than they do want like a car infotainment. They want it
I agree.
to fully connect to you, know who you are, preset your settings, and I am gonna root for some buttons though because I like AC buttons and volume buttons on the dash. I don't like them. I don't want to have to sit there and hit a button 20 times to get the volume up. So there are certain things that we're probably gonna do dual use on with buttons and touchscreen.
How about voice commands?
Nice.
Isaac, maybe you can talk about what group, what
Yeah.
platform we're planning on using voice commands with.
yeah, so we were using internally a search voice to text called Sphinx, which is also an open source project, but we'll probably ultimately for most things end up using Google Voice to Text.
Yeah, they've got good stuff in the Google Cloud. Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about just language support. And Google's having so many vehicles
Yeah.
that will be in Eastern Europe and stuff as well. A lot of those languages aren't
Yeah.
language supported even by Alexa or like a lot of the other big players. So because of that, ultimately most of our voice to text will probably be through the cloud, and we'll have some language support for when you're not connected to the air.
Yeah, Google's got really great APIs for that.
They do.
I do. And you can control anything in the vehicle with that. So you can tell it, change the temperature to
Right,
75
that's why I
degrees.
asked because Tesla has that capability. I can do voice commands, so there's zero touch.
Yeah. We're definitely behind on some of the stuff because we don't have vehicles on the road, but they're coming quick. And our idea was to try to make a pretty stable platform that would work and then just continually improve upon it. So if you guys want to come up here, we'll show you. Thanks, Ike. I'll show them the inside of this real quick, and then we'll start back down there. If you want to come up here.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I could probably sleep.
Can you lie down?
Oh yeah, I'll just go to sleep back here.
Yeah, you can totally fit.
It's pretty cool
I
to be
could
able to see it.
definitely
Like, it
fit
looks
in.
real life, right? Like this is actually
Yeah.
because a lot of this is the real material.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like much
This is like better beds than they have at college. So, I mean, like in dorm rooms, this is more.
Yeah, this is
comfortable.
definitely reminding me of Dragon
College
Crew.
dorm rooms are horrible.
Are you gonna your hydrogen? Are you not doing hydrogen stations? You're doing solar. Like you're
And I like these side mirrors like that.
Yeah, I like these too. They're
Yeah.
pretty cool.
We do.
There's no
So
external
we actually
mirror.
go all
The
over
detail
hydrogen
is pretty
stations.
nice.
Well, I shouldn't say we hire, comes in Wallbridge. Yeah, there's a 7.5 kilowatt hour module here.
This module would be completely submerged in fluid. The fluid flows in and out. You can see these channels.
And these are your batteries?
These are our batteries, totally designed in-house at Nikola, along with our own BMS, ASOD rated BMS. But
Are they 2170 cells?
These are all 2170s. Yeah. All we've ever put on all of our vehicles is 2170s, except for our first truck, which had 18650s. The fluid actually comes in. You can see all the little holes. The fluid goes in and it transfers that heat better than any other method. By doing that, there's a couple really cool things that happen. One is you can heat and cool a battery about 3 times faster than a cold plate or something that goes in and out of the cells. So you get rapid cooling and heating. You don't get in it because when you cool it, when you have like a ribbon like Tesla has between cells, you only cover about 20% of the cell. That's it. So you're sucking energy away on only 20% of the side. So it has to go through material to get to the cooling area to get into the fluid. So it's like 5 layers of heat that has to get through to finally get to the cold. With this, the fluid's touching the battery, every part of the whole battery. So pretty cool that you have. That's one reason why I love the fluid. Is one is dielectric, so it does not transfer electricity. Number 2 is in thermal propagation. If one were to go off, all that heat is absorbed instantly by that fluid. And so it actually prevents the cell from propagating to the cells around it because it keeps the cells around it cold enough that they won't propagate also. The third the third one would be the cell longevity. If you can keep every cell in there within 1 degree C, you know, your longevity of your cell will last almost 1 million miles. And so for every 1 degree C, you're going to see about 100,000 mile degradation. So if you're 5 degrees C, 6 degrees C difference in your cells, you could see almost 500,000 miles of cell life lost. That's how bad it is over the life of that whole vehicle.
Is that why you're not a fan of the fast charging?
Yes. Fast charging degrades cells very, very poorly. Even on your Tesla, it says, "Do not keep charging fast charging." Like yell at you, to tell you not to do it.
I do it all the time, though.
They do. And the thing is with cars, it really doesn't matter that much because no one drives their car more than 500,000 miles. I mean, it doesn't. Very few people ever drive their cars that long. In trucks, 500,000 miles is just getting started.
Yeah.
Right.
That's 2 years worth of work on team drivers. Mm-hmm. So cells are really problematic on semi trucks because what people don't realize is that one, the environmental impact of the landfills that would have to happen with these tens of billions of cells just being put somewhere, recycled or wasted or whatever. But number 2 is the cost of it. If you think about Tesla pays about, right now their cost went down a little bit. They were $1.75 a cell. They're about $1.60, $1.62 now. If you think about their cost on their cells, they're on a megawatt hour battery pack. If they want, they've said different numbers, but if they have a megawatt hour battery pack, that means they got to have 1.2 megawatts because you don't get the full depletion of a cell. And so if you think about all that, that's $100,000 to $150,000 in cells per vehicle just in the cell cost alone, not including the battery housings, everything else that goes along with it. BMS's, cooling system, thermal, structural, all that other stuff. That's just the cell cost alone. You'd have somewhere right around about 40 to 80,000 cells up to 90,000 cells on a semi truck if you're talking about the full range on the big one. So if their numbers are correct from what we've heard, and I can't quantify it, I only know from what people have told me inside of there, guys that work there. But if that's the case, then you have to replace that battery to 500,000 miles, that's $100,000+ hit. You'd go bankrupt. So you got to make that battery last 1 million miles, or it's totally worthless on a semi truck.
Are you recycling your batteries?
We do. We send them to recycling places, so we don't do it ourselves. We send them out. I still don't know what to do about batteries. It's kind of one of those things that haunts me a little bit. I'm not really sure how. I'm hoping they get rid of all these exotic materials in them. Cobalt's one of them, but even the other stuff too, like the nickel, magnesium, all these other ones that are in there. The problem is those all have to be mined.
Right.
So you're tearing down mountains to power a car. I'm not sure how. I'm not against batteries, and we all know about it. But I also am trying to figure out a way in my head. We've been working on cell development that gets rid of all those materials, and we've essentially worked with some battery companies to bring that cells to market. And whether they come to market or not, we don't know. We've now essentially developed it to a cell level, and we've told them take it to market. And if they can, it would get rid of a lot of that, almost all those materials.
Tied to that company you acquired and announced earlier this year. It was a new company with new technology, battery technology.
No, it's not actually. It's tied to a university that had developed the technology, and we essentially ended up licensing all of it and helping them fund it all the way through. So it came from a bunch of professors. Actually, there was multiple professors, and they were working on it, and they approached us and said, hey, we got this. We think there's some merit to it. Would you be willing to look at it? We looked at it, looked good. I hate cell development. Likelihood of success is like, it's like hitting the lottery, so it's very unlikely you're going to develop a cell that'll work. So they did really good work. They had showed that they had thousands of cells already being cycled that were not failing. So we came in and we helped fund them. We helped provide them funding for equipment that they needed. They furthered the development, and now we're going to be showing off cells at Nikola World, we hope. And at Nikola World, we're going to pass it over. That's one area where you guys asked about licensing. We're going to give it to the battery company and let them sell it to everyone in the world. Because if you can get rid of these expensive materials and you can drive that cost down by half, everyone wins. Then you can replace the battery and you don't feel so bad about it.
Smells like metal.
Right.
Metal in the morning.
So this is actually going to become a mux for one of the. So you guys saw the little quarter scale. Now we're going to go to, or that was an 8 scale. Now we're going to go to quarter on this one, and that's the foundation of that vehicle. And we'll pack it with clay and foam, and we'll mill it out. But this area here is essentially where we do all of our advanced manufacturing of metal components for the frame. So whether we do tubing, bending, notching, cutting, the whole frame assembly is all done in here. One of the most advanced laser cutters in the world that does not use CO2. It's one of the true only pure laser cutters. So it does not use all the gas in it. One of the sneak out. So it's very important you have really high tolerance on these. And they also do this will actually cut you, some of it not heavy pressure. This one of the VCU housings, we actually do them all in house. So
aluminum?
Yeah, it's aluminum. And then they anodize them and they put them together, and then you have your prototype. You have your prototype housing. So come on over here. And this is the big guy. This is where you see the.
I gotta set up on the demo if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. Hit it. So this is the one I said you can mill out that whole truck out of that same one. This is a Zimmerman FZ37. This is the one that takes years and years to get built.
How many is there in the world?
There's probably 50 or something. I don't know. They just take forever because they're incredibly fast. They're made to mill out massive pieces of metal, aluminum, steel, pretty much anything you want.
So right now it's set up on the demo cycle. We're not actually cutting anything, obviously, because I just finished a part. So it's just kind of cutting air right now, but waves coming in next.
So you can see all the shavings. They put the plastic down for the plate so it doesn't get all over the floor. And it's pretty cool though, because this thing right here allows you to rapid prototype a whole part. So it'll do two things. One, we have one of the biggest 3D printers out there anywhere, and you can print out a whole dashboard or a whole door, stick it in here and mill it out. It'll fit and form and test it in 3 days. That would take normally 6 months to do with a supplier, and that's if you pay them millions of dollars. So by doing everything in-house now, when it comes to prototyping, it allows you to get to production faster.
So you guys are doing rapid prototyping right now.
Yeah. That's why we're able to do so many different programs like the Badger and the NZT and the Watercraft, because all these machines are online now, and if the engineering department requests a part within a day or two, it's already delivered to them. I think normally you're like 6 months out on that stuff.
Very, very quick turnaround.
So, cool, thanks, Rod.
Yep.
Thank you.
Come over here and you can see this. This is we got a couple things in here. We got a very fine 3D printing for precision. That's the little guy right there, and it can do parts up to about this big. And then for the ones that we want to do huge ones, like new doors or new molds for a whole new stamp panel, printed out of this. It's one of the biggest ones in the world. They'll do composite and plastic, so you can do actual carbon fiber reinforced plastic. You can print out a whole piece. It comes out really rough, and then you stick it in the machine and you machine it, and it becomes perfect, and you sand it, and that's your part you can use for stamping or whatever else you want. So if you come over here, you can see this. It's actually printing a part out right now. That's the good example is the fifth wheel. So So this is the fifth wheel part printed out of here. So when we do the quarter scale or half scale, that's what you use to actually emulate what the fifth wheel looks like. It's pretty cool. Headlights or anything else. Fine parts like lights, light bulbs, anything like that you want to emulate, you do it out of this. And this guy can do it from almost the ground all the way up, so you could do a 10-foot part. You could print a whole part out of this thing in one shot. And normally that would just take, it'd take months or a year to do that. So.
During our tour inside the fab, I realized that Trevor, he talks a lot, as we all know. And I understood finally the reason why he talks so much. He is very passionate about the products that he's putting out there. And from my observation, and like I said, I've been inside these type of fabs plants numerous times from my day job. I've also toured the Tesla factory twice. I was actually impressed by him knowing what each machine is used for. And when we went to a station, he was able to pick up a part and explain to us exactly what that little part is for when he looked at it. Now, if you're not a hands-on person, if you have not been intimately involved in the whole design process, you would not have this type of knowledge. So to me, I think Trevor, he is very enthusiastic about the products that he's developing, and he has been very intimately and very hands-on in the process of design. So this is why he talks a lot, because he likes to tell the story behind all of these. And sometimes I think he may have ADD because he kind of jumps over the place. However, that is my observation as one salesperson looking at another, and as someone who has gone inside all these different research labs and rapid prototyping places, how the people that I have been interacting who are like PhDs showing us all the things and cool technologies they've been working on. That is my impression of Trevor, is he is actually very knowledgeable, and that's why he cannot stop talking about this when you ask him a question. After the tour, we did a sit-down chat or fireside chat. Even though it was like 111 degrees, we didn't really need any fire with Trevor. And this is when we are able to ask more questions that actually for me, some of you have wanted me to ask. So in the interest of time, I will show little clips, not complete clips, obviously, because this video will drag on to 2 hours. But I asked him about the Badger reservation number. I wasn't giving up. I was still pushing for it. I asked him, based on your current Badger reservation numbers, what is your projected sales and what is your sales forecast for Badger? Unfortunately, he could not divulge that information again because of that potential OEM partnership. So they did not want to have that information leaked prior to the big unveil. But he said that they've had about 90,000 people who are interested, and if you want to run a percentage of that, go ahead and you can figure that portion out. And then I also asked about the reservation percentage between battery electric vehicle versus fuel cell electric vehicle. What's the breakdown? He said right now it's at 50-50, to my surprise, because I thought that they're really pushing for hydrogen technology, which I will get to in a minute. There's a reason for that. So I was really surprised to hear that BEV and FCEV, they are split even right now. But later down the road, he thinks that the breakdown would probably be 60% battery and 40% fuel cell in the production numbers. So those are the sales numbers that I got from him. And some of your questions also asked about the cost of hydrogen production. So I will show this clip very quickly.
I think one of the biggest questions, the most frequent questions that we get from people in the EV community regarding hydrogen fuel cell technology is the cost of production of hydrogen. And people have ran numbers and they're saying that it could be roughly 10 times more expensive than battery. So, but you're saying that you have a way of reducing that cost. So can you tell us how you plan to achieve that?
So number one, hydrogen will never work without the infrastructure. It's why it's never worked yet. And quite frankly, there was a lot of reasons, the cost-wise, why it never made sense until now. So there's a lot of issues why that never worked. What we did is when I started this company is I looked at it and I said, look, we need to get hydrogen costs down. They were $16 a kilogram on average. That's just unacceptable. There's not one station in America that's designed like the other station. It's crazy. It's like, think about this. Every Tesla supercharger in America is almost the exact same. Every one of them.
There's no standardization right now.
Just exactly. It's like, look, here, there's a couple of reasons why hydrogen has sucked for a long time. There's no standardization. No fueling stations in a country are the same. No engineering's ever been the same. No one's ever addressed how to get the electrical cost down. No one's ever addressed how to balance the grid with it. You go down the list and these things just pile up. It's just huge mounds of problems, right? And so I looked at it and I said, whenever you see a bunch of problems in an industry, that usually means it's right for innovation. And that's like where I literally just go jump in the pile. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to attack this industry because there's big problems with it. And so hydrogen was a very problematic yet beautiful industry, but it had serious problems. And so the way that we address this is a couple-fold. Number one is we needed to build a station that was standard everywhere in the world. One station everywhere in the world, built hundreds of thousands of times. So same thing Tesla did with chargers. They would not be where they are today if every one of their chargers was different. So it's really important you standardize everything. So that was one big one. When we started that, a station was going to be $45 million, and now we're down under 15 million. So huge achievement for 8,000 kilograms a day. That's 45 to under 15, and we're shooting for probably by 2025 we're shooting for 10 million. That is a monumental decrease in cost. Now all of a sudden the infrastructure cost of the station is so minimal that it makes now that makes sense, because for that many trucks it's cheaper than to put a diesel station in. So now you've all of a sudden now become cheaper than diesel stations to put in. 15 million is parity with pretty much with a diesel station. Anything under that we're cheaper to put in than a diesel station. So the answer there is, once infrastructure becomes cheaper, everyone's going to do it. That's going to be a good thing. Number two is so standardization. Number two is providing a charging infrastructure protocol that the world could use that would require everyone to use the same thing. We saw this in the electric vehicle world, and it was a disaster. Every country is fighting for its own charging. Luckily, we got Asia, America, Europe, all on the same hydrogen standard protocol before it was ever developed. It was what a blessing, because we learned that from the electric vehicle world. Looking back, I wish Tesla would have called all the countries and said, look, we need to make a standard. Everyone use the same one. Let's do it. They still could have had their network, and they could have made money off of everybody else as well. There's a lot of things about standardization that's really important. We all learned that. It's a nightmare. I hate that there's 3 different major charging protocols around the world and they're all fighting, and so we didn't want that with hydrogen. So Nikola chaired the coalition from the groups around the world, and we developed a heavy duty protocol for the whole world. And so that was a big deal because it drives the cost down even further now, because now everyone's developing the same receptacles, the same nozzles, the same components, the same compressors, same fittings, same everything, all the way down the supply chain of these stations. Everyone's developing the same one throughout the whole world, rather than just relying on America's quantities only.
I also asked about when they're going to start building the fueling stations, and how many do they plan to build if they're under construction already. So he said that they plan on building 700 throughout US and 50 in Europe. And they're actually not building them yet. They're waiting for their customers. For example, in Anheuser-Busch, to tell them where they want these fueling stations to be built. So this is not like the Tesla superchargers where there's one a mile down the road from my house and then I can go to other stations or charging stations around town. This is very targeted and specific to the trucking routes per their customers. So that is a big difference that people need to understand is the numbers may not sound impressive. The fueling stations that they plan to build may not sound impressive, but they're very strategically located and selected based on their customers' needs. So they're serving a completely different segment than Tesla right now. This is before Tesla getting into the semi-truck world as well. So keep that in mind. I also asked about their service team because, as you know, when you have a truck, you'll need a service team. So they do plan on partnering with a company, another OEM that's specializing in servicing trucks and whatever. But they said that as soon as Anheuser-Busch receives their first delivery, they're going to establish the service team. And before I had to take off, Lauren asked a really great question. She asked Trevor, what are the biggest obstacles that he has to overcome so far? So Trevor said that number one is scaling and number two is fundraising. So he said fundraising is really exhausting, and then obviously scaling, which is the pain that Tesla had to go through, that is typical for all the new manufacturing companies out there. So those are the two biggest pain points that he's had to deal with. Now let's talk about hydrogen and fuel cell technology. As I mentioned in the previous video, I am not opposed to it because I believe that battery isn't the only energy source to green transportation. I know that there are researchers out there who are trying to find something else that's not even battery nor hydrogen, something else that we may not even be aware of to become an alternative source of energy for us down the road. And I believe that hydrogen fuel cell technology has its place in the car world. A lot of people have opposed hydrogen technology simply because Elon Musk said so. Well, I don't blindly follow Elon Musk, so if you don't like that, again, please exit out of this video, block me, unfollow me, whatever. I don't really care. But during our conversation with Trevor, he mentioned this. He said hydrogen won't become mainstream, which is exactly my point of view prior to going into this meeting. Basically, even before I joined this meeting, from my research, I believe that hydrogen fuel cell technology is a better solution for the trucking world than pure battery technology. Why? Because the batteries, for example, at Nikola, they are going to be 750 kilowatt hour battery capacity, which is 10 times of my 75 kilowatt hour Tesla Model 3 long range battery capacity. When I go supercharge, when I charge from 20% to 90%, it takes me about 36 minutes at the fastest right now V3 supercharging. Imagine if you have to charge 750 kilowatt hour, which is 10 times of my current battery. You will have to have that truck charging for several hours before it can get on the road. And that is a huge problem in the trucking industry because they value the trucking uptime. So if you take this offline and put it to the charging station, it's just going to cost them money. And also, Trevor made a point, even though I do this at home, as you saw earlier in the video clip, fast DC charging over time will degrade battery faster than slow charging. So what are they going to do? Just have the trucks plug in overnight and slow charge for like 12 hours, not even 12 hours, or I don't know, a day. That simply won't work in this industry. So hydrogen fuel cell right now is a better solution for the trucking world, for them to go green, because when you pull into a fueling station, you can fill up in 15 minutes, just like when you go to a gas station and then be on the road. So I am not against this. Actually, in fact, it makes a lot of sense to me. Now, there are people out there arguing, well, hydrogen fuel cell is not a safe technology, it's gonna blow up. Well, let me ask you this. When was the last time that your local gas station blew up? When? Tell me. Because in my 32 years of living here in the US and 30 years of driving, actually 28 years of driving ICE cars, none of my local gas stations had blown up. So if we know from the previous clip that I've shown that Nikola is working in an alliance with others to standardize the fueling stations and to build this fueling station network, wouldn't you think that safety is going to be the #1 concern in the station design? Really think about it. It doesn't make sense if they're gonna put out something that's just gonna randomly blow up. So that is a lot of the misconception that people have had toward Nikola and toward the hydrogen technology, just because maybe Elon Musk said, oh, hydrogen sucks. Then people say, yeah, it sucks. But if you really sit down and think about it, it makes a whole lot of sense. So now that I've gone on this visit, what do I think of Nikola? Well, I must say that I am really impressed by their team. The people that we've met from the technical point of view, they're legit. And Trevor, I think I understand him a little bit more now that I've actually met him and talked to him. And I do wish them luck. I do wish them success, because the trucking industry is so lag behind and the diesel trucks are out there polluting the world. And Trevor had made a point to tell us several times that he is not against Tesla. He is on our side to push out these polluting vehicles off the road. As to if this company is a fraud, I wouldn't call them a fraud. I would call them just running a little bit ahead of themselves at this point, because they haven't delivered an actual product yet and they haven't unveiled the Badger yet. However, it does have great potential. So my position on Nikola remains optimistically skeptical. The only thing that we can do right now is sit and wait until Nikola World in early December and see what happens. I thank you so very much for enduring this super long video. I promise all my other videos are not as long. And if you're interested in learning about Tesla Model 3, please check out my other videos on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested. I will see you next week when I resume regularly scheduled program, and God bless.